have a question. What is your favorite song and how do you connect with it? Is it when you fell in love or through something really difficult? I'm your host, Tiffany Mason. Now join me as I interview others and we take a walk down memory lane with them. Let's get lost in why that music matters to them. Turn up your radio and let's explore Memories with a Beat. Hello, Podcast Land. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Memories with a Beat. And today I have Kevin Eastman on the podcast with me. Kevin, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join me.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Yes, I'm very excited to dive in, mostly because, in the quote unquote green room, it was sounding very much like we appreciate music in the same way. This is interview maybe number 80. And I don't know if I've ever had that same oh my gosh, you have the same love and passion and pick up on the same things like I kind of do. So that's exciting for me. So I'm excited to dive into your song. But first of all, let's dive in a little bit. Let my audience know about you. Where are you? What do you do? Hobbies? Just whatever you want to share with my audience.
Okay. Well, I'm actually in Southern California, originally from Oakland, California. I was in the Air Force for over 20 years, and Southern California was the last stop because I was not moving anymore. I got tired of doing it. So I decided to put some roots down. I didn't want to go back to Oakland, so I decided to stay in Southern California. And I've been here for about 15 years now. So I'm a book author. Hobbies, I'm sports fanatic. I'm a Raiders fan. Kind of sour that they moved to Las Vegas, but still Raider fan nevertheless. But I like my San Antonio Spurs. They kind of were my adopted team when I was living in San Antonio a while back. But,
okay.
I like cooking, those type of things. Just a regular guy. And music, of course. What
was it about South California that helped you? Is it just out of convenience? I'm kind of done. This is my last stop. I think I'm just going to stay here. Or was it the people or something specifically in the area that you're like, I just don't want to leave this place?
Well, really, I had never lived in Southern California before. I had spent the first 19 years of my life in Northern California, in Oakland, visited Southern California. But once I got here, it was like, okay, I'm not going to move anymore. I'm tired of moving. So after being in the military, you move every so often. I've been from one end of the country to the other and then across overseas and things like that. I knew my next stop would likely have been someplace I didn't want to go back to. So I was like, I'll stay right here. Because I had been to the Plain States before, and I was in Wyoming for 2 years. And I joke and I say people have the weather in Cheyenne is 2 seasons, winter and not winter. So, so I decided I'm not going to take a chance on getting another assignment to go back to the snow. So here I am.
Yeah. Well, we are from Minnesota, and it was the same thing where we're like, we're kind of done with snow. And so we're in Florida. So I can appreciate those sentiments exactly.
Exactly.
Do you have children?
Yes, I have 2 daughters, age 30 and 12.
Okay. Kevin, you got some splaining to do.
Well, actually, second marriage, and my wife didn't have any children. So we decided we would have one and done.
Yeah. Sometimes that's enough. Oh my gosh. Whew, we have 3, so I can appreciate that. And then you said you wrote a book?
Yes, I did write a book.
Just kind of threw that in there? Just kind of slipped that in there?
I did. Yeah. Well, anytime you get a chance to, you have to put it in there.
Well, yeah.
It is a book on self-development. It's called Don't Gamble on Life Improvement Until You Shift the Odds. And what it is, it's a series of topics that I think kind of create the chaos that we encounter in life. And I tell my reader how I overcame those obstacles to shift my mindset. The title in itself is a metaphor for a lesson I had to learn. Don't try to improve your life until you first shift your mindset. Once you learn that, you'll find that a lot of the things that we are encountering, we are actually creating. And I kind of explain how we do those things with my personal experience, logic, humor. I add a lot of humor in there, and I also add a lot of observation. And once you start looking at those things, you'll go, oh, yeah, that kind of makes sense. I got it. Either I'm doing it or I know somebody who's done it. So it's what I tell people is my book will either help you or it will help you help someone because we all know somebody that can use some of the information that I've written in the book.
Yeah, if there's anything I've learned over the last year is mindset is everything, man.
Oh, absolutely. And I had to learn that the hard way. It was actually interesting because I had a supervisor in the Air Force that sat me down and he asked me two questions. One, he pissed me off, but more importantly, he actually got my attention. First, he said, I've seen you blame any and everybody for your misfortune. Have you ever looked in the mirror? And I was stumped. I couldn't answer the question.
Whoa. Yeah.
And he said, I want you to go home and I want you to look at some of the situations, but I don't want you to look at it as somebody else. I want you to look at your role in that situation.
Mm.
It forced me to challenge the way I think.
Mm-hmm.
And once I did that, I started realizing, you know what? A lot of the stuff I'm dealing with is actually me.
It's making me think of Michael Jackson. I'm talking to the man in the mirror.
Exactly.
He's asking me to change his
Yep.
ways.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And once I did that, I started realizing a lot of the things that I can do. I can shift my perception of it, and it turns out completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And when I talk with groups, I talk with book clubs, and what have you, I explain that to them because a lot of people, when they read my book, they're like, "Okay, I've done that. Oh, what'd you do? How did you get out of that situation? Well, here's how I did it, and then they go, oh, that makes so
Yeah.
much sense. I tell people shifting your mindset is the easiest and hardest thing to do. It's simple because all it takes is for you to make the decision.
Right.
But what's hard about it is dealing with the consequences for the decision because it
Mm-hmm.
causes you to have to take action and it might be an action you don't want to take. But if you don't,
Yep.
if you don't take it, the situation is not going to change.
Now, I'm just asking for our listeners, not for myself, but just for our listeners. Where could they buy this book?
The book is actually available directly on my website, which is kevineastman.com, because I always put my middle initial in there because the creator of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is also named Kevin Eastman, and that's not me.
No.
So, and it's also available on Amazon. It's on Kobo for our Canadian listeners.
Oh, okay.
It's on Barnes and Noble. It's on the major book retailers.
Okay. Well, everybody go get your copy because the world could be such a better place if we would all realize our role in different scenarios.
There is actually a 2-chapter free preview on my website.
Perfect.
That will give the reader the time to read the first 2 chapters and find out what actually I'm talking about, and then they'll know what to expect from the rest of the book.
Okay, that's generous of you. Definitely going to check that out. Well, it kind of makes me think that maybe it has something to do with your song because of the title of the song. So let's dive into the title of your song, why you chose it, how you connect with this song. And I'm so excited because you want to dig in on lyrics.
Yes. I love the song. The song is called Keep On Rising by R&B group Jade. When I saw your post on Facebook, that song came to mind.
Yeah.
It's not a mainstream song, so to speak, but for those who don't know where it came from, it was actually at the end of a movie, The Sixth Man, with Kadeem Hardison and Marlon Wayans. And it was running in credits. That's when the song played. And when I first heard it, I was like, wow, because I listened to lyrics quite a bit and some things just stick out. And the lyrics in this song just were phenomenal to me. There is a rap verse at the end that kind of doesn't go with song, but it goes with it, but it doesn't go with it. But
Sure.
the message of the song is just phenomenal. It's like keep on rising. You just have to keep going.
Well, let's dig into it. Let's just get started. So you can lead us through it, go ahead and give us some of the lyrics and then, your reflection on that. Or you can pick out just the pieces that, are the ones that you resonate with most.
Oh, sure. I'm not going to sing, I can tell you that. But
Okay.
if you look at the first verse of the song says, so you think it's rough and you had a bad day. Seems like nothing's going your way, but I'm here to tell you it ain't over till it's over. You can't let no one break your stride. What you need is to look inside and keep rising straight to the top. When you're talking about motivation, you set a goal. And that's what I tell people when I talk with them about changing your mindset. You have to have goals. Goals keeps you moving towards something. And in order to get to a goal, what I try to do is I tell people you break your goal down into smaller sub goals. because sub goals are easier to manage and they keep you motivated towards the ultimate goal.
Mm-hmm.
For example, a lot of people will say, I want to lose weight. Okay, great. How much you want to lose? 50 pounds. Okay. So what? That's a very broad goal.
Sure.
What I try to do is tell people you have to use the SMART technique. It has to be specific, it has to be measurable, it has to be attainable, it has to be realistic, and it has to be time sensitive. That will keep you pushing towards the goal. And if you take that, I want to lose 50 pounds. If you take that and put just a little more on that, it makes it so much easier and hits all of those elements in the SMART technique. I want to lose 50 pounds by losing 1 to 2 pounds per week over the next 2 months. Just that much, you change
Yep.
your focus. And it's a lot easier to lose 1 to 2 pounds as opposed to looking at a 50-pound challenge.
Yes.
And once you see that 1 pound to 2 pounds coming off, it keeps you motivated. Hey, I did 1 pound, let's do 2 pounds next week. And it keeps you going towards that goal. That's the approach that I took when I heard the first verse of this song. I just love it.
Now, I'm wondering, as you're speaking and goals and all that kind of stuff, because there's a lot of milestones that you have to reach throughout all of the Air Force, like weigh-ins and stuff like that. You guys have that in the Air Force?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Because I've done a lot with a Navy podcast, is what I used to edit. And so I would listen to all of her discussions or episodes where she's explaining, these weigh-ins and stuff and how to, make weigh-in. And so I'm wondering, do you think that any of this quote unquote teaching, maybe it was all subconsciously, but do you think any of it came from the Air Force, or do you think it was just that one conversation with was it your command?
It was my supervisor, but yeah,
A supervisor.
no,
Okay.
it resonated throughout my entire career because if you look at the military as a whole, you have a goal that you have to accomplish. Regardless of the obstacles in between you and that goal, you have to get there. And I say this in my book, you set a goal, you have space between you and that goal. And whatever is in between there, you have to be willing to go over, under, around, or even through
Mm,
whatever is stopping you from getting to that goal. And once you get that mindset, you have to realize, I always tell people, barriers, obstacles, all of those things, they are only as large as you make them in your head.
mhm,
If you say that obstacle is too much, it's going to be too much.
mhm.
If you say the obstacle is, it's not too bad, it's not too bad. I always look at it in that sense. It's like, well, how bad is that obstacle? Is it really stopping me, or is it what's between my ears stopping me?
Right. Yeah. I always tell my kids if I'm asking them to do something, I can't. I'm like, well, if you say you can or you say you can't, you're right.
Exactly.
You know, the Henry Ford
Exactly.
statement. I mean, it's all the power of our mind, and it's so hard. I think that we all think that there's like a magic pill to losing weight. There's a magic pill to getting the professional upgrade promotion. There we go. That's what I'm trying to come up with. There's a magic whatever. There's not anything magic. It's all about our mindset, which is so great that it's so simple,
It is.
but such a bummer.
And what I always tell people, if you think about it, the greatest obstacle you have to overcome is located between your ears. You have to overcome you.
Yes.
And once you learn to get out of your own way, it makes it a lot easier.
Yes.
That brings us right into the chorus of the song. It says, keep on rising straight to the top, baby. Ain't nobody standing in your way.
Yeah.
Nobody's stopping you but you. You decide whether that obstacle is large enough to prevent you from going towards that goal,
Yeah.
or it's small enough to where you can step over it.
Yep. Got a podcast? Are you loving it, but not loving how much time post-production takes? Or maybe you just have other tasks calling your name a little bit louder. Virtually You can help. Check out virtuallyuva.com, supporting you in all things podcasting, like editing, show notes, audiograms, and much more. See the link in the show notes. They're waiting to give you back your time. And on that note, let's get back to the show.
I use a lot of kind of metaphoric language when I talk, but I use a scenario. If you're walking along with your head up and you're not paying attention to where you're going and you step on a banana peel, what's going to happen? you're going to slip, right? And you're
Probably.
probably going to fall. And every single time you're walking with your head up, not looking down, and there's a banana peel sitting there, you're going to step on it, you're going to slip, and you're possibly going to fall. People, unfortunately, what we want to do, and I say we in quotations, but what we want to do is we expect the banana peel to move out of our way because we don't want to change what we do.
Hmm. Yep.
And it's so simple. You change your mindset. Look down at the ground so you don't step on the banana peel. That way you can step over it. You can step around it. Pick it up, put it in the trash can, whatever the case may be. But we don't want to change the way we're doing things because we're comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with walking with my head up, not looking down at the ground. Well, okay, but looking down at the ground is really not that uncomfortable. It takes a second and you can see where you're going. There's little adjustments like that that contribute to the changing of the mindset that can be so simple.
Yeah. Well, I think another level to that too is yes, start looking down, but learn from the lesson, right? Like don't keep your head up, slip on the banana peel, keep your head up, slip on the banana peel, keep your head up, slip on the banana peel. How about we slip on the banana peel one time and then we go, that didn't work. So let me look down this time and miss it. And then maybe the next time we look down, we miss it and pick it up and throw it away. Right? Like
Exactly.
learn from from the errors of your ways too.
The way I phrase it is you have to look at it. We try to, instead of changing our behavior to fit the circumstances, we really expect the circumstances to adjust to our behavior.
Yeah.
And that's not right because circumstances cannot be changed. Ever since their invention, if
Hmm.
you will, banana peels have made people slip when they step on them, and it's not going to change anytime soon.
Yeah.
So we have to adjust what we do. Pick the banana peel up,
Yep.
step over it, whatever it is for you to avoid it. It's not that much of an inconvenience for you to step over it. Pick it up, put it in the trash can. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
little things like that that make all the difference.
Well, and it kind of goes back to that. Is it a serenity prayer? Do you know it better than me off the top of your head?
Something along the lines of grant me the wisdom to
Yes.
accept things I can't change,
Yes. 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 Yes.
that type of thing. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I can't think of it either off the top of my head, but y'all know what we're talking about. Um, Mostly just saying, help me to know that I can change even if the circumstances aren't. So, yes.
Exactly.
Very, very appropriate. Yeah, I just thought it was such a great upbeat song. And I love that it was talking about rising up. And then when you were talking about your book being motivational, I was like, oh, this is going to be a home run. This is going to be a good interview. Okay, so let's go into verse 2. You got to get your groove on. You got to stay strong. You can do it all on your own. All you got to do is look inside. Don't let no one break your stride and keep on rising.
There you go. You can't get much more plain than that. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, to me, this makes so much sense. If you have a goal, the way I put it is it's never too late. You're not too old. You're not stuck in your ways. If you have a goal, make a plan and get after it. Period.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple, and you can't let anybody get in the way because there are people that are in our society, unfortunately, that if they have no desire to do something themselves, they tell you why it's not a good idea for you to do it.
Yes.
And what I tell the reader in my book is no one can tell you what's going to satisfy you but you. They can only tell you what satisfies them.
Yeah.
If you start getting into trying to satisfy them, then you kind of lose yourself.
Yeah.
And that happened to me for a while. I was
Mm.
trying so hard to be accepted by my friends, my coworkers, or whatever the case may be. I would actually subscribe to behavior that was, I won't say detrimental,
Yeah.
because that's a strong word.
Unfavorable.
It could have been handled in a different way,
Sure.
and I was slowly losing myself trying to be something I thought somebody else wanted me to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would say that I am susceptible to that. I'm also insanely careful to surround myself with people that I want to be like because I know that I'm susceptible to that. So I can appreciate slipping into that with them. And I can also appreciate knowing better and just trying to be aware of that, going forward.
It goes back to when we were growing up. We looked for that validation from our
Mm-hmm.
parents, from our
Mm-hmm.
teachers, from family friends, from our friends. We wanted that everything is all right. You did a good job.
Yeah.
That's great when you're growing up. But a lot of people, that mentality, they, instead of looking for that validation from within themselves, they look for it from other people
Yeah.
into adulthood, and that's where we run into the egomaniacs, those type of things. It's very easy to tell. And what I say is the more arrogant a person is, usually the more insecure they are
Oh, for sure.
because they are constantly looking for other people to stroke the ego.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if you can't do that by yourself, nobody else's words is going to make you do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It makes me sad too for those people though that they're maybe, I don't know if I want to say wounded so much, but that they just haven't developed that self security,
Hmm.
yet. So that's too bad. But hopefully we can come alongside them and encourage them to keep on rising up.
Well, trust me, they listen to that song and they read my book. It'll give them some things to think about.
Yeah.
The way I tell people in the first chapter of the book, there's a lot of things in this book you're probably not going to like. But you have to push past the barrier of being defensive. And what I tell people, the best way to read my book is forget what you know and just read it.
Mm,
Because a lot of people have preconceived notions about quote unquote self development books. Oh, ain't nothing wrong with me. Well, there was nothing wrong with me either until I found out there was. So you have to kind of get out of your own way and look at something else. A good way to look at it, and I tell my daughter this, if doing things the way you've done them has gotten you where you are and you don't like where you are, why are you continuing doing what you're doing?
yep. Amen. Burn. Well, is there anything else that you want to add about the song? Are there any more lyrics? I mean, this song is so amazing and it's so straightforward. It's very easy to see what the message is, and it's a great sing along and it's a feel good song. But is there anything else that you want to add about it, Kevin?
Oh, not really. I mean, like I said, the rap verse is there. It's there, but it kind of gives the message. But really, the song would have been fine without it, and it's not taking anything away from the person that did it because he did a good job. But if that rap verse was not in the song, it would still have the same message. You
Hmm.
have to keep rising. Don't worry about what's stopping you because nothing's stopping you. You are, and that's the way I approach things. That's the way I've had to learn how to do things in the Air Force because I was actually younger in the Air Force. I found myself as a drill instructor at 22 years old.
Oh, goodness. That's too much power for any 22-year-old.
Well, it was different because I mean every 6 weeks you had a different group of trainees would come in, and you were solely responsible for taking them from step 1 to step 30 in their training.
Hmm.
And it's a lot of pressure. But if you have the mindset, I mean, like for example, I was doing really well professionally,
Uh-huh.
but in my personal life, I was a train wreck.
Yeah.
Nobody was the wiser because I kept everything inside and I jumped right headfirst into my job.
Hmm.
So much so that I had a funny story. One graduation, I had a parent come up to me and she said, "What did you do with my son? Because that is not him."
Oh.
And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "That's not who left my house a month and a half ago. What did you do to him?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, your son and I had a disagreement, a discussion, and a solution. And that's all you need to know."
That seems like the G-rated version that you should tell the mom. That sounds appropriate.
Yes, it was. I was not going to divulge any details because her son and I had a pretty good conversation. It was one sided. He didn't like it, but, it got the message across pretty emphatically.
Well, just like maybe got a little kick in the pants that you didn't appreciate at the time, but when you went home and really reflected, it all sank in and you're better for it. And it was probably the same thing with him.
And that's what it was about. It was about making him get out of his own way, just like somebody helped me get out of my own way.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to pay it forward with my book. The more people that read it, you will be surprised that the stuff in there is like, oh, I've been through that, or I know somebody that's been through that. And here's a guy that's been through a lot of stuff and he's found a way to get over it. And here's what he did. Try this, that type of thing.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind, everybody listening, that this will all be in the show notes. So if this is a book that you want to check out, I'm going to have his website on there as well as a link to Amazon. So you guys can check it out. You can get your own copy. You can read the first 2 chapters. But definitely, if you think that, you could use it or you have somebody in your life that you would like to share it with equally, check out the show notes. All the information will be in there. I will get this song on the playlist for Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube video. And it's just Memories with a Beat, the playlist. So you guys can check out any song that I've ever talked about on any episode, but especially Mr. Kevin's, which was Rising Up by Jade. And thank you so much for your time and taking time out of your day to talk to me. I really appreciate it. And even responding to my Facebook message. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was a fun interview. I loved it.
Oh, good. Well, Podcast Land, I hope you enjoyed it too. And I hope it was music to your ears. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? You never know what rabbit holes we'll get to go down and explore. Were you reminded of anything? Or anyone? Share what it was with me in a review. Honestly, the reviews don't do me any favors other than knowing people like you are listening to this podcast. Insert cheesy wink. However, the ratings do help, so leave me 5 stars. You know you wanna. This podcast was produced by Virtual You, supporting you in all things podcasting. To connect or check me out on social media, I know you're just gonna stalk me. But see the show notes, as always, for details. Can't wait to dive into my next guest's memories with a beat. Hit subscribe now. You don't want to miss the next episode.